With everything that has been going on in the world over the last couple of years, but more specifically the last few months, it is more important than ever that we are having this conversation that we are going to have today.
And to that end, we are here to help you prepare for the realities that you're likely struggling to face.
Hey everybody, it's Bianca.
Welcome back, Evolvers. It's Emilia. Here we have episode 492, the realities of tech and future generations, obviously, that none of us are ready to face. This podcast episode is very much intentionally designed to tap into what so many of us have been thinking behind the scenes, but in one way, shape, or form, we have seen behind the scenes with so many people are vehemently avoiding. Because when we don't know about something, or we think we know, or it's unfamiliar, we tend to fear it. And that fear becomes avoidance more likely than not. And that avoidance is costing us more than we even know. So as you join this episode, our intention today is to help you equip yourself so that you can face the realities of technology and what that's doing to our future generations, so that not only you can face it, but that you can help your kids and future generations do better with it too. Because we all need help ourselves. In this arena. 100%. Yeah. So you have something. Go ahead.
I have a story that's going to piss you off to get us started.
Oh, I have a story too. So yeah, Great. Get me fired up. Go ahead. You first.
I was on the phone, or I was on a call with a client last night. Yeah. And she works as a BCBA, so a board certified behavior analyst. And she's very, very successful in her career. She's a very great practitioner. And she went to work with a family. And little boy, he's like 3 years old. He's slightly nonverbal. So a BCBA works with children who have autism and who are on the autism spectrum, for anyone who doesn't know. And her and the speech pathologist are trying to have a conversation with the parents who are in their 30s. So they're like early millennials.
Oh man.
The little boy has the ability to speak, but he needs speech and all of these other services to help him because he's on the spectrum. But the parents let the kid just sit there with a device like this all day. He's always in front of the TV. He's always in front of the screen watching Bluey or whatever. So my client and the speech pathologist were trying to have a dialogue with these parents saying the device is interfering with his ability to participate. We might have to terminate services due to the fact that he's not progressing and you guys are not allowing us to remove the device. And they're like, well, he doesn't need the social skills. He doesn't need to do this. It's easier for us if he just has the tablet, so on and so forth. Mom ultimately got into a screaming match. Not like my client wasn't screaming, but she was like attacking my client and the speech pathologist because she didn't want to take the tablet and YouTube and TV away from this little boy. And now this little boy is not going to get the services that he needs because of the decisions of the parents. So he's not going to be able to learn to speak, even though he has the ability, but because of his age, he's not going to be able to speak. They don't want to put him in school. So he's never going to learn how to be around other children and learn how to socialize. And now he just had these services removed that are going to actually teach him how to navigate in the world because of technology and because of the poor choices that these parents have made with technology on this child.
Yikes. So yes, I'm very passionate about this. And I do know that these conversations around technology, most people that tune in are likely in the category of have been quote unquote guilty with putting their kids in front of a device, or putting their kids or seeing friends and family and have convinced themselves of a narrative of this. I can't imagine what it would be like to be a mom or a dad, especially with a child that has or is neurodivergent, because what that requires of you as a parent, not just to quote unquote check the box, but it requires of you to go outside of the script that everyone has told you parenting is quote unquote like. And so it's a quote unquote inconvenience for you, not only to have a child, but to have a child that has needs and needs that are different than what all of your quote unquote friends likely have. And so I recognize the complexity that's in this. And I also have a lot of clients myself who have gone through the bringing in speech pathologists, have come into where they've had many different individuals who essentially are assessing the developmental level of their children and will come in and see where their child is scoring at specific markers in their development stages. And those are incredibly important. However, I have also heard many stories, Bianca, of parents on, like, for example, that woman's side who was screaming at the behavioral analysis, or yes, the people that are trying to help, okay? And I have asked questions of, okay, I understand that you're frustrated and I understand that you don't want to have or pull a tablet away because of your side of the coin, right? You get to be with this child. You understand they have freakouts every single time. It seems to be the only thing that helps them and helps you, and life is already tough as it is. Okay. Have the professionals that come in and help you understand that your kids are not scoring marks and developmentally critical periods or scores, quote unquote. Have they educated you about this at all? And a lot of the answers on the parents' side that I'm hearing is there's very little education. Mm-hmm. That will come in from those professionals. And so as someone who understands the implications of all that, I obviously am extremely concerned for the professionals that are going in. And now kind of seeing it from a different angle, it's like, okay, I understand if you're getting screamed at, obviously, you're not going to want to quote unquote go into the education route. So this is a bigger conversation from my perspective about how individuals, and these parents are what we want to not just talk about in this episode, but this is a bigger discussion about millennials, about individuals who want to eventually have children one day, who desire to have functional children, who know how to meet their needs, who know how to be contributing members of society. And this conversation is going back to, why is it that individuals who are literally trained in a profession to help develop a child's brain so that they cannot be this person who is so dysfunctional as a result of the lack of tolerance that mom and dad will have for the upfront challenges that requires. For example, pulling away a tablet, working with professionals to help actually overcome the challenging roadblocks now to give children a better, brighter future. It's like, for example, taking your kids to go get, quote unquote, their braces, right? Because their dental is all over the place and their baby teeth are, gone. Their adult teeth came in very crooked. Okay, it could just be a vanity metric, right? But no, if you actually understand science and developmental science and how oral hygiene and your teeth alignment with respects to the jaw, with respects to the nasal cavity and how you breathe, which then impacts the central nervous system and how much you can actually access calming breath, as opposed to teeth that are out of alignment, do not have braces, and ultimately do not have jaw alignment. Like, we're going from everything from digestion down to this person being a functional member of society. When you're a parent, it might suck because the kids are like, oh my God, my teeth hurt and I get my teeth in the braces and everything like that. That's the suck that you have to go through for years and decades of better health. And so this conversation is about like the braces version of what technology is for our modern day individuals, our modern day parents, our modern day people who don't even have kids yet, but yet are the models by how they are interacting with their devices. And that's what kids are unconsciously picking up. So none of us are ready to face this.
Neurodivergent children, like
Facts.
neurotypical children too. That was just one extreme example, but like this is
extremely common.
All of us. All of us. So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just needed to make sure that I said that.
To that end, we are not prepared. None of us are ready to face this fact, because what it does is it squares us in the direct face of what we are doing and what we are not doing, what we are choosing. In other words, how we're spending our screen time, as opposed to how we're developing the distress tolerance for not being on an addictive device. So all of this is going to be a confronting conversation. And like I said at the very beginning, you can choose to put your head in the sand, right? You can choose to put your head in the sand, say, you know what, Emilia, Bianca, I don't have kids yet, right? Like, yeah, my sister or my brother might have kids, but like that doesn't affect me. Like we all have a responsibility for the future children, like the children of the future, to be the responsible adults to understand what we are doing and the impact that is having on our future. Again, our future.
We also owe it to each other as adults to be the model for other adults to do better. Like this is not just about us teaching children. This is about every single one of us being a model of change. I mean, with everything that is going on in the world and the crazy stories that are coming out and what's going on with AI and technology and all of these things, like we are at the very beginning of something that, Emilia, you've said this in previous episodes, we are not prepared for. And it's through conversations like these where we can start, excuse me, facing the truths, hearing the truths, and then having steps forward, being able to take steps forward. Something even as small as when I'm at the gym in the morning and people are literally doing a set. They're in the middle of an exercise and they have their phone in their hand doing a workout. They are mid-workout with the phone in their hand.
I've seen people like flipping through TikToks.
Scrolling through Instagram, through TikTok, like all of these things. We are addicted. We are more addicted than we have ever been, not only to technology, but to many different sources of substances. And it is destroying our mental health. It is destroying our capacity to function adaptively as human beings. And what are the implications of that when we are surrounded by other human beings doing the same thing, and then we're teaching our children to do the same thing? And I'm actually talking about this in the article that the day we were recording this, it's coming out tomorrow, which is going to be February 22nd. The impact, how to tell what's influencing you. Nice. We are all being influenced. Do you know by what?
And by who?
And by who? And this conversation is a perfect facilitator toward that. So, Emilia, what do people need to know? Where do we start?
To that end, I know a lot of millennial women are struggling right now. And this will be, I don't know if it will be case closed by this time, the time that this episode comes out, but a lot of millennial women are struggling with, on the note of being influenced without your knowledge, struggling with the grooming of women from influences. At the time, it was stores like Pink, Victoria's Secret, Bath and Body Works, certain things grooming to be quote unquote a specific way for the what you'll find if you dig the male gaze. Now it's not just stores. It's not just places that you go in and hang out with your friends. It's now in your device, right? And it's how well you and your families are having conversations, how regulated these conversations are, how much you as a parent, as the adult, are modeling what we're talking about in this episode. So I would wager, we've talked about this before in episodes about tech use. I would like everyone that's listening to literally go to their screen time and go evaluate. Before you do so, take a guess how much time you're spending per week on your devices, right? And then I want you to go to your screen time and look at that. And then I want you to zoom out and I want you to think about the whole day. Like the other night, I was, Alan and I were doing pliability. Alan, for anyone who's joining us, he's my partner, the love of my life. He and I do pliability every single day. And I was on the mat and just like away from screens. And I was like, my face feels like it burns sitting in front of a screen all day. And I'm like, babe, how crazy is it? We've only been outside for 25 minutes today. Out of all of our waking time, that's the only time that we spent outside. And I was just in this like state of devastation and depression. And I was thinking about it from the standpoint of, okay, we've been awake all day. And if we had kids, what would that be teaching them? That 25 minutes of outside time, which is biologically critical for our development and our mental health and our overall well-being, that is literally like not okay. And the bigger conversation that I think is critical for us to consider, us meaning the adults now, right? When we were younger, when we were kids and we looked up to our teachers and we thought that they were such big adults. And when we were younger and kids and we looked up to the adults, like that's us right now. Kids are looking up to us. Teens are looking up to us right now. Whether they say it or not, they're following you on Instagram. They're following you on social media feeds. People are hearing this podcast. And we're so grateful for that, right? To be a person of influence and to be a model in this world in any regard, that is a privilege, that is a responsibility as well. And so to that end, the conversation is what is happening when that exposure of that 3-year-old has a device that is literally designed to be addictive if you have no boundaries around it as a parent. What is going to happen? Let's talk about probabilities. Probabilities tells me that you're going to put that child in front of an iPad that is not going to be something interactive, like drawing or whatnot. It's far more going to be a passive type of interactivity, meaning that they're going to be passively watching something on the screen to be entertained and flicking, quote unquote, so that there's more things flashing in the screen. What does that do? That overdevelops the visual cortices within a child's brain. And if something's being overdeveloped, obviously it is underdeveloping other areas of the brain. So just from a standpoint of development, right, neuroscientifically speaking, your child's brain, as a result of you not having any boundaries around your use, and then thereby putting a tablet in front of them, overdeveloped sensory of the visual cortices, underdevelopment of obviously the motor skills and everything that is responsible for speech, right? All of the other areas of the brain are not getting as much development, which by the way, those are critical functioning years. Neurotypical or neurodivergently speaking, those are critical stages where neurogenesis is happening at a rapid rate. There's never a more important time in our entire lives where new brain circuits are literally developing. That's why exposure to so many different things, age appropriately speaking, is critical, because think about like branches on the tree. There's branches of their brain that are growing. But if they're only growing because they're getting exposure to a specific tech that has a specific quote unquote show on it, that which is supposed to be developmentally speaking growing is not. It is dying and it is not expanding. And so what is that? What does that actually translate to? Okay, let's fast forward a couple of years. They're not 3 years old now. Now they're like 5 years old. Okay. Now at 5 years old, the future kids, the future generations are likely not going to see, and this is fucking heartbreaking from my perspective, they're not going to see parents and adults like you and me, Bianca, who are going to be without their phones and their screen time, likely ever. They're not going to wake up and be able to have the benefits of complete focus with mom and dad. It is actually statistically rare at this point for mom and dad to be focused on the number one most important thing, which is their child. So I want to bring in some statistics, because what happens when that just continues without any borders, without any boundaries, without any consideration? Because us as mom and dads, us as these millennials, us as the quote unquote responsible adults, we're so distracted with our own stuff, our work or whatever. And I'm not shaming or blaming, right? I'm literally just acknowledging what we're hearing from mom and dads, right? We are so distracted that we don't have a system in place to make sure that when we are with our family, we are with our family. There is not a device around. We are not thinking about the next message, text message that's going to come in, or the next Instagram DM, or the next TikTok that's going to come out that I might be really interested in. Like, we're with our children. But if that's not happening, what is going to inevitably occur? Because at a fundamental level, we as human beings need connection. We need to feel like we have a space for belonging. That connection, that need, with the overdevelopment of a visual cortice, we are literally going to have our children turning towards tech for that connection. So the bigger reality that I don't think we're ready to face is that we are handing technology the responsibility of raising our generations, our future generations. Literally, raise my child, help develop them. And the worst thing, expecting that to be sufficient, even remotely sufficient. And then what happens, okay? And this is where my stats come in. What happens is that connection knows no boundaries. And then you realize there are way more people on the internet making content, owners of platforms, venture capitalists, and enterprising people that have zero concern for the development of your child. Zero concern. And see them as less than property. And then there is an opportunity at some point or another, and I quote a 2024 report, between 9 and 12 years old, where then it starts to get into the dark and scary stuff, which we are only now seeing statistics that are frightening us. We should be beyond terrified. In my professional opinion, we should be beyond terrified. Okay, so by 9 to 12 years old, 1 in 3 boys, this is a 2024 report I'll cite down below. 1 and 3 boys aged 9 to 12 years old have sexual interactions online. 59% report feeling bullied or uncomfortable. In 2024 alone, then I'll get to 2025 in a sec because I know we're in 2026, 40% of children are approached by someone trying to befriend and manipulate them. The first half of 2025, so the year that we just had, there was logged over 518,000 reports tied to online enticement, which is in that category of grooming, sexualization, and other things. We've done an episode on other things, which include encouragement of suicide. Okay. This is on an 80% year over year rise in technology.
Jesus Christ.
So now I want to share some of the pioneers that are actually starting to do a thing about this. I want to acknowledge Australia, who is taking the cake. And obviously, by the time that this episode launches, especially with what is going on geopolitically, what is happening in tech right now, what is happening all over the world in terms of data being exposed and child trafficking allegations coming forward, et cetera, data that is actually, we're not going to go there, but Australia, you have to be older than 16 years old to use social media, right? So now we're getting into the social media aspects. And ironically, one of the reasons why this is happening is because what starts maybe as Bluey when your child is 3 years old, that becomes Bluey plus a community where an online sexual predator has literally nothing but an addictive behavior to try to do something and exploit and manipulate your child.
And free access.
Or someone is trying to make sure that they get access to whatever financial capital they have available, or who knows what else. So yes, Australia is leading the way. You have to be 16 years old in order to have social media. And this is an effort to combat harmful content, addictive algorithms, cyberbullying, grooming, and mental health challenges. Now, unfortunately, the US has been ridiculous about this. Ridiculous. And I encourage you to do your own research on this. I don't care if you don't have kids, go do your research. Because you likely will have a niece or a nephew. Mm-hmm.
This is impacting you too. This is not just impacting children. How many of us as adults are seeing these horrific pieces of content all over social media and having adverse impacts as a result of it? Like, I opened up my phone yesterday to post something on social media, and some of the content that I have been seeing is it's disgusting. It's despicable. It's traumatic. I mean, the what we are getting access to, we are not capable of handling. We are not capable of coping with this because we were never supposed to see these things in the first place. And now we're getting blasted with it on all of our social media feeds. I mean, opening up my Instagram and seeing people posting videos and photos of dead bodies, like, that is not normal. Or all of these other allegations or remarks that are being posted and promoted. This is not just children having access to predators and whatnot. This is every single one of us as adults literally frying our brains and like decreasing our social skills. I can't tell you the amount of clients that I have that are like, I don't know how to talk to people anymore.
Yeah,
I don't know how to be out in the world. We are socially dysfunctional. We have no ability to self-regulate. We are more overweight than we've ever been as a world. And these issues are just getting worse and worse and worse. And we are a tech company.
We're pro-tech. We are pro-tech, pro-conscious use of tech.
Exactly. The conscious, adaptive, helpful use of tech with boundaries, with intelligence, with integrity.
Discernment.
And that is not what the majority of these organizations and these companies are doing. They don't care about you. You think TikTok cares? They benefit off of you spending 7 hours scrolling because they get paid for the amount of time that you're on there and the ads that you're seeing. We need to do better. All of us.
Evolve Ventures has a tremendous amount to offer. Not only do they have an ever-growing but still welcoming private Facebook society full of like-minded individuals, they also offer individual coaching. I myself have been coached by both Bianca and Emilia on separate occasions, and it's amazing to look back even a year ago in my life and see how far I've come. You almost don't notice that you're doing better for yourself over time. Not to mention, Out of the Mud, free live virtual event once a month. Can't think of a better way to spend a Wednesday night. You truly can't encapsulate the value that it carries unless you've been there yourself and been part of the conversations and the connections that happen, and just access to that kind of information. The resources are just incredible.
It's pretty wild, actually. I'm gonna throw a couple things in here because obviously I'm a person who adores tech. I am such a nerd at heart. I think technology is amazing and it's not the problem. I think we as human beings are the problem, and it's because we're unwilling to face these hard truths that we're bringing up in this episode is case in point. So to that end, on the note of the social dysfunction, in 2026, there's a company called EVA AI. They opened up a pop-up shop where you can go and have dinner with your AI companion. So you can go to dinner with your AI partner, aka companion. And why I mention that is because, like I said, it doesn't start there. No. It doesn't start there. But if we remember what I said, going all the way back, if there's underdevelopment in certain areas of the brain while we are young, and there's overdevelopment of other brains, and then there is the expectation that anyone else is going to do the parenting for you or going to develop your child with a positive effect and expect that to be done well in any regard from a scientific standpoint, then you are literally pushing your child to AI companionship. How about that? So, to that end, I think it's really important on top of that to be mindful. See, it's fascinating because we all have a judgment and we all have an opinion about that. But yet, if we think about a different frame, the elderly, right? People are like, we as human beings are more lonely than we've ever been. But if we put the frame on an elderly frame, and then an elderly person has an AI companion that they can talk to, all of a sudden it's not as maybe as bad or as wrong or as easy to jump to judgments about that. And why I want to highlight the difference that I'm seeing between that is because ultimately we're not developing the skill set. There's this woman who did an incredible TED Talk on this, how we're losing the intimacy skills and how to navigate the discomfort when it comes to relationships with human beings, per the social dysfunction comment. We're losing the ability to handle and cope with and develop the skills to overcome that awkward tension, those friction moments of what it means to be in real connection with human beings, right? When you have an AI companion, there's no friction. I mean, the most friction that I'll have with an AI is like, I didn't ask that question. Stop validating me. Like, I'm someone who doesn't want the validation. Every single person, if they have been undervalidated their entire life because their parents are on their phones and always on a screen, they're inherently, biochemically, and now neuroengineeringly speaking, wired to seek connection, not with a human being. And that is the concerning reality of the future that we all will be, hopefully, in some way, shape, or form, living in. And I say hopefully because there's a whole separate conversation about the compound effect of irresponsible tech use, which is consuming resources that we don't have wiggle room around. Okay, so how do we start to close this episode if you are sufficiently not just freaked out, because I'm not trying to use any regard of fear-mongering in this episode. I'm coming from someone who has researched, seen this, and literally I remember even in college trying to sound the alarm on this, of how this is a problem that has lasting effects and it's not going to change until we change, until we start to do things differently. I've had so many conversations at this point, which I'm so grateful to have, with women, men and women who are thinking of having families. They are thinking about having a family, having children, and so much of their time has been romanticizing that little moment, whatever those little moments are, right? And very, very cute. I love it. It's so, because to have a child in a way is like a radical act now, because you're actually believing in the future by doing so. Now, there's some people that actually have none of that thought process and just have unprotected sex, but that's a whole different conversation. To that end, the families that I'm having conversations with that are aspiring to be conscious parents and are conscious couples are conscious singles who want to do everything in their power to make sure that not only are they ready, because they realize that readiness is a BS thing to look at life with, because there's no such thing. It's number one, a decision. And then number two, you realize that it's just a series of decisions, because life is an infinite game, because there's always going to be change. You need to change with it. And readiness is a multitude of decisions that never stop, that realize that change is happening, and you are going to be brave enough to walk into that uncertainty, to walk through that friction that feels uncomfortable, to recognize that discomfort is your friend and pain can be your partner. And that is what helps you evolve. And you're going to evolve with the times, not let them evolve past you. And so those individuals, they have spent far too much time spinning their wheels about the romanticization of, when I have a kid, this will happen. And I'll share outright, super excited for you guys. This is awesome. And a lot of time has been focused on the lack, right? Like, we don't have kids yet. Oh my gosh, this time we went to this party, like we felt that, like, we're in our 30s, we don't have kids yet. Like, it just sucks, right? Like, processing through that. It's like, awesome. What if you turn that lack into learning? And this is what I want to encourage everyone that wants to have children in the future, or wants to be a great uncle, auntie, grandparent, whomever, role model, mentor, someone who can actually help plant positive seeds for positive change in the future. Why don't we instead change that lacking mindset, or put that focus that's been on the lack of what you don't have? And why don't we learn? Why don't we learn how to overcome the discomfort of being without our phones for 5 minutes? Why don't we learn how to focus on how do we equip ourselves, to equip our children and or our future nieces and nephews to approach technology use from a conscientious mindset? How can we learn how to develop the conversational and speech skills to maintain a regulated nervous system, so that when someone experiences the statistics of what we're seeing, including online grooming, cyberbullying, harmful content exposure, addictive algorithms, mental health challenges as a result of any of those, or worse, we know how to have a conversation because we're focused on statistics, not the pretend future world that we have no idea about. So what do we do? One of the things that I'm going to propose to all of us is to encourage us not to teach our kids or our future children or whatever about this, because it's like, for all of us that are in this millennial generation that are struggling with our emotions and trying to figure out how to name them, it's like me asking you to go do what your parents told you to do, but yet never modeled. Your parents never learned emotional intelligence. Your parents just told you to say, to listen to what I say, not what I do. And you felt that as a kid. And you realized that doesn't make sense. They never modeled what they're asking me to do. So why the hell should I do it? I'm not like, we don't want to repeat that same mistake that we've seen. So what do we need to do? We need to integrate this into our life and model it and master it, so that that mastery of the modeling can be what in practice in our day-to-day, what teaches our children. And then to bring verbalization towards it, we can actually break down. So this is the 5 C's that I want to encourage everyone to consider their own use around, and their own participation of. And then I want to encourage you to take a minute and actually consider how you engage with these C's. Okay, so number 1 is content. This encompasses actually everything that you're getting exposed to online, right? This includes the text, the images, the videos, everything. What is the content that you are exposing yourself to? You might be encountering inappropriate, harmful, even illegal stuff. Are you reporting that? What are you doing? How are you implementing filters and monitoring systems such that you're not just getting constant exposure to things that are not okay? This is where evaluating your content, and I would encourage you, if a 10 out of 10 is super virtuous, integrous. It is something that's going to help you and it's going to help that learning, quote unquote, component. That's a 10. A 0 is the lack focus. I don't have Lamborghinis, so I just want to consistently see Lamborghinis. I don't have whatever, right? Like, okay, content. Your digital literacy matters. You need to evaluate the content that you're exposing yourself to. So Bianca, you mentioning that, I had something recently come up on my feed as well. What did I do about that? As soon as it registered as below what I want to see on my feed, which I have a very tight boundary, if it's below a 7, I will make sure that I report the content. I will make sure that I go into my algorithm and double check my algorithm. DM me, if you guys are listening to this, DM me, how do I change my algorithm? Because most of us actually have no idea how to do that. We do not go learn how to curate your algorithm without suggested content on your feed. That is not something that we will do. Why? Because we're so stressed out. That is not an excuse. In the 21st century, that is not an excuse. It's like brushing your teeth. If you're not brushing your teeth and flossing your teeth every single day, do you actually consider yourself an adult? If you are not putting filters or having digital literacy every single day, you cannot consider yourself an adult. I'm sorry, and I'm not sorry. We are in that modern day age where someone's gotta say it. Okay. Bianca, comments?
No, keep going.
All right. I say this with all love. I hope everyone knows that.
Yeah,
content.
Number one is content.
Okay. Number 2 is contact. This refers to whatever contact you are having. In other words, the risk that is associated with and between any users online. So this goes from passively watching something to now contacting and engaging with something, someone, a platform, etc. So you posting a comment, you putting a like, you receiving a like, you receiving a comment, you typing in a chat, right? Like at the end of the day, your contact, that starts to activate what's called a cost sink bias. And when you engage in contact with other accounts online or with other users online, that cost sunk bias is directly connected to your social belonging and need for belonging. So what does that do? Between users online, that increases actual peer pressure. Oh, I need to respond to this person. Oh my God, they like my content. I need to see their content. That's where all of the contact that you have online, how long you spend over a video, how long you don't, whether you engage with it. And engagement isn't just liking or comment. We are beyond that point, y'all. Engagement literally looks like it is on your screen for more than a split second. The algorithms are logging that. That then exposes you towards the gateway, quote unquote, drug. So contact is the gateway drug to inappropriate advertisements, danger of adults posting as children, and grooming, exploiting methodologies that people literally live to do for young people and young adults. Okay. So some actions that you can do to be more mindful of your contact is ultimately, number 1, you can encourage yourself, like I said, to engage and contact only individuals you know, only accounts that you do know, like actually know, you actually have a relationship. Be extraordinarily cautious about what information you share. This is where what is wild. Despite the data that we have on the ability of cyber threats and on the ability of predators to find where our children go to school, to find where we live, we're still posting pictures of kids online. So when it comes to you, maybe consider, like I've seen so many pieces of content of people filming their kids, reenacting them, and their kids are going to the selfie. Their kids are going to the get ready with me, quote unquote, videos. That type of contact has implications downstream because you're encouraging contact with unknown individuals. And then what happens there? Trust starts to build between you and an unknown individual. That is where in the first entry point of grooming behaviors and pedophiles, the importance of reporting suspicious behavior, that is in all of our hands. Now, I'm not saying that, unfortunately, your reports on your feeds are going to go answered, because if we were to look at the stats of reports to actually cases that were opened and closed and gotten to, it is disgusting because it's negligible. But that's aside from the point. Okay. Bianca, anything to add on that?
Nope. Keep going.
Okay. We're almost done. Conduct. Yes. This is involving the behavior that is exhibited online. So this is, are we supportive or are we unconsciously bullying someone? We don't know it, but a lot of us will be posting and doing things online just for other people's validation and approval. We will share inappropriate images, videos, and overall the way in which we interact online and on the internet in a whole has no quote unquote filter through a higher standard of the conduct that we have online. And I remember, trust me, I haven't been a saint about this. And I have cleaned up my act a lot, and I will continue to do so. I am not a perfect human being by any means. So I'm not from this holier than thou on a pedestal at all. I'm actually really passionate about this because of how much I have personally been harmed by this. And I will not go into detail on that. When it comes to having a standard for your conduct online, I remember at one point my mom was like, she said to me, Bianca, it must have been like 12 years old. Do not ever say or send anything that you won't be comfortable having on a big screen in your school, around your peers, and a big screen with your entire family sitting around. Emails, photos, videos, etc. Why? I'm like, oh my God, that's intense, Mom. She's like, don't ever get it twisted. There's always another copy. So I'm just going to leave that where it is. And what we can do is we can implement clear policies within ourselves. Like, for example, one policy that I have is after 8:30, like I do not touch my devices. There's like 2 exceptions to that, but they're only on specific days and for very specific intentional reasons. When it comes to how we navigate and conduct ourselves with other people, this is around how are we behaving. And then at the end of the day, if we're going to teach anything, it's teach ourselves how to conduct and the importance of conduct in general to be respectful human beings. Okay? Okay. Commerce. Let's talk about commerce. My goodness. So nowadays it is so cool because our technology, like we've never been able to work from home the way in which we do. We've never been able to literally not have to travel in order to have, an incredible amount of influence. And that's amazing. And yet the commerce that is affiliated with so much of online and digital and cyber use is extremely concerning. There's benefits to everything, but there's also extreme risks. Okay, so commerce is essentially addressing the risks that are associated with any online transaction, such as gambling, phishing with a PH, and financial scams. So we don't realize it, but like say, for example, you're on TikTok or Instagram and you go ahead and you buy a product off of Instagram or TikTok or something like that. There are people who literally go out of their way to make sure that your click path on your phone is copied such that you can literally go copy and paste that onto another site, buy things, or get access to your information, and if it is not secure. So people don't think of it now because we have so much online shopping integrated with our social media streams. But the commerce, there are people that will make sure that you get emails and they'll say, click this link, or text messages, click this link, or all these scams that end up happening. Why? Because there's a huge multi-billion-dollar industry around e-commerce. And this isn't just about e-com. It's also about the online transactions, the financial scams, the phishing, the gambling that's happening. Okay. So if we're not mindful about our interactions and where we're clicking, how we're clicking, what we're clicking, the privacy, the security, et cetera, from our social media feeds to other things, we are not being mindful in terms of the e-com that's there. So what we can do is teach ourselves and learn, like I said, skill sets about safe shopping and the importance of protecting your financial information. And what does actually real protection look like? What does semi-real protection look like? Because trust me, there's a lot of scammers right now that are taking advantage of those who are not learning, who have just been focusing on the lack, like I said. And then this is something that we do at Evolve. This is something that I do in my own personal life, constantly doing a risk assessment and assessing any platforms that you use regularly and making sure they're secure and they're not having data stored within it that you haven't consciously chosen to do so. Okay. And then the last thing is contract. If anything or anyone is asking you to get into a quote unquote contract online, this might include literally online dating. And a contract can look like, do you agree to show up at this time in this place, right? Like, let's be very mindful. Let's be very mindful. I have heard absolute horror stories of people having even like a Facebook marketplace or a marketplace. Very seemingly small agreements go horribly wrong. So any contract that you quote unquote enter into, legal or not, verbal or text, be incredibly mindful about your safety. So all of those I would encourage you to rate 0 to 10. Where are you currently at? Dear listener, dear viewer, if you've made it this far, where are you at in the 5 C's? Because where you are at in these 5 C's tells me everything that if you have children, what you are not able to teach them just by you doing them. Right? And this is just basic. This is so basic. Like if I don't know how to do a cartwheel, I can't teach someone else how to do an actual cartwheel. This applies to all of our digital literacy too. So I know this is a long one. I know this was dense AF, maybe one of our longest that we've done in a while. And thank you so much for creating the space, listening, learning, and any of this stuff. I implore you to go learn because, like I said, we are not prepared enough for what we're about to face. And this is just offered you 5 different avenues and more of how you can start protecting yourself, which then leads to the example of how we protect the future generation and our future children, which is so important. So, Bianca, what do you think about all this? Talk to me.
None of us learned this. None of us learned this. None of us had access to this. Very few of us had parents like yours who warned them about what to post and what not to post and how to navigate the internet. I mean, millennials were the first generation to grow up not having it and then having it. And we were not taught how to use it. We were just so caught up in the whirlwind of the changing times that
so exciting.
We didn't have access to information on how to stay safe with it. And now we do, but we're so caught up in it that we can't really see it. We can't make changes as a byproduct of it. It's like when you're caught in quicksand. It's like, how do you teach someone else to get out of it when you're so stuck in it? You can't. And
fearful and thrashing, like you're just sinking deeper.
Exactly. Yeah. Conversations like these, yes, it might sound like fear-mongering, and that's okay. We should be scared.
Some of it is scary. It is really scary.
We should be scared. We should be concerned. We should be worried. We have no idea the implications and the long-term consequences of all of these things that are happening, and governments are not going to jump in.
Yeah.
They're not going to. Australia did, but like governments aren't going to jump in and do it. You think our administration is going to do anything about it in America?
More often
Absolutely
than not, they are benefiting from you being an idiot around this, from you being ignorant in this, and your kids being ignorant.
We cannot wait for some person in power to come protect us and save us, because they are not going to. So it is up to all of us as individuals to equip ourselves and to do better for each other, for ourselves, and for everyone to come. It is gonna get worse. This is just the beginning. And with all the information and all of the news and all of the AI and the tech and everything that is coming out right now, this is just the beginning. And if we do not smarten up, a lot of bad things can and will happen. So it is up to all of us to educate ourselves, to address our mental health, to work on these things, to do what we can, which is listening to an episode like this, even though it was long and scary and you might not fully understand it, and that's okay. You can listen to it as many times as you need to. Go educate yourself. Go work with a qualified therapist or a coach. Like, let's step up. No one's coming to save us. So we need to do it.
Damn right. And that is what Evolve Ventures Tech is here to do. Literally.
100%.
We've been educating ourselves and researching and understanding the data and trying our very damn best to talk about things that are taboo, that are uncomfortable, that give us the heebie-jeebies. More people would rather listen to a crime podcast and hear about a story about something horrible happening to people than they would then face the reality of what is likely, statistically likely to happen to their children. And there's something deeply wrong about that. So to that end, we are so grateful that you joined us. Obviously, we're incredibly, incredibly passionate about this topic because we are seeing on the other side the mental health implications of a lack of developing these skills. A lack of having no one tell us how to navigate this world. A lack of no one having told us or helped us or developed the skills, not only to navigate this world, but then navigate a digital world on top of this world. So we see you if you're struggling in this. We see you if this is overwhelming. We see you if this is something that you are like, where the hell do I even start? I implore you and encourage you to start with us, to start with this community, because we also have incredible good things happening and incredible good people doing amazing things with tech. And I am so, so excited for who in this community is going to be the contributors to that, who are going to be the good people here that move the needle in the right direction for a brighter freaking future for us. So in that, my closing episode suggestion is 409, can technology like ChatGPT and AI help in therapy? The answer is no, spoiler alert, but we think it can. Man. Bianca?
When this episode comes out, it is April 2nd, which means that on April 6th, we have our monthly movie club. We don't need more technology. We need more human connection. We need more community. If you are feeling alone, if you are feeling isolated, if you do not have a community of people, come join us for movie club. Even if you didn't watch the movie, it's still a good opportunity to be around people who care, talking about the real things in this world that matter. We all need more of that. And I need to make sure that I say this. If it were not for Emilia and everything that I learned from her over the last 7 years, I would have been the biggest victim to all of this. I would have been the first one getting an AI boyfriend. It's, and I don't say that to be, I don't say that in jest. I say it because it is the truth. I would have been the first person to fall prey to all of these people and to all of these marketing schemes and these ploys and all of the BS going on. You can learn. There is a way out of it. I would have been the first one to fall victim to it. So like, we don't say this as people who are holier than thou. We say it as people. I say it as somebody who was, for lack of a better phrase, pulled out of the matrix of all of it. So
Yeah.
I can do it. I did it. You can do it too. And we owe it to ourselves to do that. And my episode suggestion is 389, building your child's sturdy foundation.
So important. Whew. As always, thank you for your interest in the science of holistic mental health and well-being. This was a big one. We appreciate you sticking with us. And if you did, let us know in the comments what resonated, what scared you, what have you been through? We want to hear it all. All right, everyone, keep evolving. We're with you.
Bye, everybody.